What if the amount in your bank account has nothing to do with how generous you can be? 2,000 years ago, a church that was broke, persecuted, and barely surviving begged to give away money that they didn't have. Meanwhile, a wealthier church down the road was dragging its feet on a promise they'd already made. Today we're going to find out what made the poor church so radically generous, and how that same secret can change the way you think about your own money, your time, and your fear of not having enough. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Let's get into it. A quick bit of context so this hits right. A group of Christians in Jerusalem were starving. The churches around the Mediterranean had promised to help, including the church in Corinth. But somewhere along the way, Corinth's follow-through had stalled out. So the Apostle Paul writes them this letter. And here's what I want you to notice as we go. He's not guilt-tripping them. He's not passing an offering plate with a threat behind it. He's showing them something better. He calls giving an act of grace. So by the end of this chapter, I hope you'll understand exactly what that means. Let's start reading. Moreover, brothers, we make known to you the grace of God, which has been given in the assemblies of Macedonia, how in a severe ordeal of affliction, the abundance of their joy and their deep poverty abounded to the riches of their generosity. For according to their power, I testify, yes, and beyond their power, they gave of their own accord, begging us with much entreaty to receive this grace and the fellowship in the service to the saints. This was not as we had expected, but first they gave their own selves to the Lord, and to us through the will of God. So we urged Titus, that as he had made a beginning before, so he would also complete in you this grace. Okay, let's slow down, because verse 3 should stop you in your tracks. The Macedonians were in severe affliction and deep poverty. This isn't just a mild inconvenience, this is real suffering. And yet Paul says they gave beyond their power. They begged to be part of it. By every worldly standard, these people had a built-in excuse. Nobody would have blamed them for saying, we can't. But they didn't just give. They pleaded for the privilege. Here's the secret, and it's sitting right there in verse 5. Before they gave a single coin, they gave their own selves to the Lord. Their generosity wasn't the source, it was the overflow. We can think of it like a sponge. A dry, hardened sponge. You can squeeze it all day and get nothing out. But soak that same sponge in water, and the lightest touch makes it overflow. The Macedonians were soaked. That's why generosity spilled out of them, even in poverty. So here's the question we're sitting with. Is your I can't afford to give actually about your bank account, or about something drier underneath it? Paul saw this and knew exactly what to do with it. Watch what he does next. Paul's about to turn his inspiring example into a direct challenge, and he does it in a surprisingly gentle way. Verses 7 and 8. But as you abound in everything, in faith, utterance, knowledge, all earnestness, and in your love to us, see that you also abound in this grace. I speak not by way of commandment, but as proving through the earnestness of others, the sincerity also of your love. The Corinthian church had it all going on. Strong faith, sharp teaching, real enthusiasm. Paul isn't being sarcastic there. He genuinely praises them. But then comes the turn. See that you also abound in this grace. Translation: talent and knowledge are fantastic, but don't let generosity be the one area you're quietly skipping. Here's the part I really want you to catch. Verse 8, Paul says, I'm not commanding you. Now, why does that matter so much? Because forced giving isn't generosity, it's just a tax. Real Christian generosity has to be a free choice, or it isn't really love. Paul's not writing a bill, he's holding up a mirror and asking, is your love real? And that's not just Paul's take. The church echoed this for centuries. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 2545, puts it this way. It describes a call to voluntary poverty, where those who are poor in spirit set their hearts to the things of heaven, rather than clutching earthly kingdoms. Same idea, different era. Choose the things of heaven over the tight grip on what you own. But if you actually want to know what that looks like when taken all the way, Paul's about to show you the ultimate example, and it's not the Macedonians. One verse, that's all it takes for Paul to completely reframe everything we've just talked about. For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sakes he became poor, that you through his poverty might become rich. This is the theological heart of the entire chapter. One sentence, and it reframes everything. Jesus was rich, not comfortable, infinitely rich, perfect glory, perfect power, perfect comfort, and he became poor on purpose for us. He didn't lose his wealth by accident. He laid it down, born in a manger, living simply, dying on a cross, so that we could become rich, not in cash, in forgiveness, in grace, in eternal life. Once you actually look at the cross, I can't afford to give, starts to sound a little different, doesn't it? Paul isn't asking the Corinthians or us to do anything close to what Jesus already did. He's asking us to let that example shape how we hold on to things. So now we've seen the ultimate motive, sacrifice. But motive without a method can get messy. Next, Paul gets practical. How much should you actually give? Let's find out. This next section is one of the most quoted and most misunderstood passages on giving in the whole New Testament. So let's read it first. I give advice in this. It is expedient for you who were the first to start a year ago, not only to do, but also to be willing. But now complete the doing also, that as there was the readiness to be willing, so there may be the completion also out of your ability. For if the readiness is there, it is acceptable according to what you have, not according to what you don't have. For this is not that others may be eased and you distressed, but for equality. Your abundance at this present time supplies their lack, that their abundance also may become a supply for your lack, that there may be equality. As it is written, he who gathered much had nothing left over, and he who gathered little had no lack. Paul gets practical here, almost blunt. A year ago, you were excited about this. Now finish it. Because good intentions don't feed anyone who's actually hungry. But look how fair he is about it. Verse 12. It's acceptable according to what you have, not according to what you don't have. God isn't asking for money that isn't there. If you have a lot, give a lot. If you have a little, give a little. That's it. That's the whole standard. The goal isn't guilt, it's equality. Verse 14 paints the picture. Today, your abundance covers someone else's need. Tomorrow, their abundance may cover yours. It's not a one-way transaction. It's a community holding each other up. St. Leo the Great captured this centuries ago. The beauty of good works is the truest wealth, and the equality of charity is the greatest honor. Generosity like that only works, though, if people can actually trust where the money is going. And that's exactly what Paul addresses next. This last section might seem like a boring administrative detail, but it's not. Stick with me. This is Paul protecting the entire mission. But thanks be to God, who puts the same earnest care for you into the heart of Titus. For he indeed accepted our exhortation. But being himself very earnest, he went out to you of his own accord. We have sent together with him the brother whose praise in the good news is known throughout all the assemblies. Not only so, but he was also appointed by the assemblies to travel with us in this grace, which is served by us to the glory of the Lord himself, and to show our readiness. We are avoiding this, that any man should blame us concerning this abundance which is administered by us. Having regard for honorable things, not only in the sight of the Lord, but also in the sight of men. We have sent with them our brother, whom we have many times proved earnest in many things, but now much more earnest, by reason of the great confidence which he has in you. As for Titus, he is my partner and fellow worker for you. As for our brothers, they are the apostles of the assemblies, the glory of Christ. Therefore, show the proof of your love to them before the assemblies, and of our boasting on your behalf. Paul wraps up the chapter with logistics, but don't tune out, because this part matters more than it looks. He's not sending Titus alone. He's sending Titus plus 2 other respected, trusted leaders. Now, why is that? Verse 20 tells you exactly why. He doesn't want anyone to have grounds to accuse him of mishandling the money. Verse 21 is basically a life principle hiding inside a fundraising update. Do what's honorable, not only in the sight of the Lord, but also in the sight of men. It's not enough to have good intentions. Paul builds in actual accountability because he knows trust is fragile and good intentions can be buried under bad management if no one's watching the details. That's the whole chapter. Now let's bring it home. So what's the takeaway from 2 Corinthians 8? Generosity was never about how much is sitting in your account. It's about the condition of your heart. When you really grasp how rich Jesus has made you, not with money, but with grace, your hands start opening on their own. Here's a question to sit with today. Is there an area of my life, my money, my time, my energy, where I'm clenching my fists out of fear instead of opening my hands in trust? If this broke the chapter down in a way that actually made sense, hit like. It helps us reach more people. Subscribe if you want more simple, honest Bible breakdowns like this one. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, where is God asking you to open your hands? Next time, we're moving into 2 Corinthians chapter 9, where Paul reveals what it really means to be a cheerful giver. You don't want to miss that one. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.